She refused the millionaire's money and just asked for a doctor for her brother, proving to him that love is worth more than gold, the currency of the heart. We live in a world obsessed with the bottom line. We are taught that every problem has a price tag and that enough zeros on a check can fix anything that's broken. I believed that, too, until I met a woman with holes in her shoes who looked at a briefcase full of my cash and told me it was worthless compared to her brother's breath. This is the story of how I, Marcus Thorne, a man who thought he owned the city, got schooled on the true meaning of wealth by someone who didn't have a dime to her name. It's the story of a refusal that changed 3 lives forever. The waiting room purgatory. My name is Sarah. For the last 6 months, my life has been shrinking. It used to be big, full of art school dreams and noisy dinners with friends. Now my world is the size of a 10-year-old boy named Leo, my little brother. Leo had a cough that wouldn't go away, then a fever that burned for days. The free clinics gave us antibiotics that didn't work and told us to rest. They didn't have the specialists. They didn't have the time. We were sitting in the overflow waiting room of St. Jude's Charity Clinic. It was raining outside, and the smell of wet wool and sickness hung heavy in the air. Leo was huddled under my thin denim jacket, his breathing shallow and raspy. He looked so pale, like he was fatting away right in front of me. "My chest hurts, Sarah," he whispered, his voice barely a squeak. "I know, baby," I said, rubbing his back, trying to transfer my strength into him. "We're next, I promise." I was lying. We weren't next. We were number 42. They were currently calling number 15. I had $74 in my bank account, no insurance, and a terrifying feeling that time was running out. I was desperate, and desperation makes you do crazy things. The collision of worlds. I needed air. Leo fell into a fitful sleep, so I stepped outside the clinic doors for just a second to breathe something other than antiseptic and despair. The rain was coming down in sheets. A sleek, obsidian-black Maybach pulled up to the curb right in front of me. It looked like a spaceship landed in a slum. The back door opened, and a man stepped out, Marcus Thorne. I recognized him from the business pages of newspapers I used to read. He was a venture capitalist, a corporate raider. He was wearing a suit that cost more than my apartment building. He didn't see me. He was on his phone, barking orders at someone about liquidating assets. As he stepped onto the sidewalk, he stepped right into a massive, oily puddle. A wave of dirty water splashed up, soaking the bottom of his immaculate Italian trousers and ruining his expensive leather shoes. He stopped mid-sentence. He looked down at his shoes as if they had personally insulted him. Then he looked up and saw me standing there, a witness to his imperfection. His eyes were cold steel. "Did you enjoy the show?" he snapped, assuming I was laughing at him. I wasn't laughing, I was just tired. "I didn't see anything," I mumbled, turning to go back inside. "Wait," he demanded. He was used to people obeying him. He reached into his jacket pocket. The insult. Marcus Thorne pulled out a sleek leather checkbook. He whipped out a gold pen. "How much?" he asked, his tone bored. I blinked, confused. "How much for what?" "For your silence, for the inconvenience of me having to look at this miserable building, for whatever it is people like you want." He scribbled something quickly and ripped the check out. He held it toward me. It was for $5,000. $5,000. That was rent for 4 months. That was groceries. That was heat. "Take it," he said, already turning away. "Buy yourself a new coat." I stared at the check. A month ago, I might have taken it. I might have thanked him. But today, with Leo sounding like a broken bellows inside that clinic, the money looked like paper. It felt dirty. It felt like a dismissal. He thought he could just buy his way out of an awkward 3-second interaction. He thought money was the only thing that mattered. A hot flash of anger burned through my exhaustion. "No," I said. The refusal, the hook. Marcus froze. He turned back slowly, a look of genuine confusion on his face. It was a look I suspected he hadn't worn in decades. "Excuse me," he said. "I said no," I repeated, my voice steadier than I felt. "I don't want your money." He frowned, looking at my tattered sneakers, then back at my face. Don't be absurd. Of course you do. Everyone wants money. Is it not enough? Do you want 10? You could give me $1 million right now, Mr. Thorne, and it wouldn't fix the only thing that matters to me. I pointed toward the clinic doors. My 10-year-old brother is inside. He can't breathe. They keep giving us cough syrup because they don't have a pulmonologist. Your money can't buy him air. He stared at me. For the first time, he wasn't looking through me. He was looking at me. I don't want your cash, I said, tears finally spilling over, mixing with the rain on my face. If you want to help, if you're so powerful, get a real doctor to look at him. Today, that's what I want. I turned my back on him and walked back into the clinic, leaving a billionaire standing in the rain with a useless piece of paper in his hand. The confusion of a king. Marcus's perspective. I stood there on the wet pavement for a full minute after she left. My driver, Higgins, got out with an umbrella, but I waved him off. I have bought companies. I have bought politicians. I once bought a private island just to stop a rival from developing it. I have never, in 30 years of business, had someone refuse my money. Especially not someone wearing shoes held together with duct tape. It was insulting. It was baffling. It was intriguing. She didn't want to be rich. She just wanted her brother to breathe. I looked at the clinic. It was a dump, St. Jude. I think my company donates to them for the tax write-off. I had never actually seen it. I got back into the Maybach. The smell of rich leather and aged wood usually calmed me. Today, it felt suffocating. Higgins, I said, watching the clinic door. Get Dr. Albright on the phone, the chief of pediatrics at Mount Sinai. Higgins looked at me in the rearview mirror, surprised. Sir, you have the merger call in 10 minutes. Cancel it, I said. I have a different kind of negotiation to handle. The intervention. Back in the waiting room, number 22 had just been called. Leo was wheezing worse now. His skin was hot to the touch. Hang on, Leo, I whispered, rocking him. Suddenly, the clinic doors swung open with force. It wasn't another sick patient. It was Marcus Thorne, and he wasn't alone. Walking beside him was a tall woman in a pristine white coat, carrying a specialized medical bag. Behind them were 2 large security guards. The waiting room went silent. Marcus scanned the room until his eyes found me in the corner. He walked straight over, the crowd parting for him like the Red Sea. Sarah, he said. It wasn't a question. He gestured to the woman beside him. This is Dr. Albright. She is the best pediatric pulmonologist in the state. She's going to examine your brother. Now. He didn't wait for permission. He nodded to his guards, who effectively commandeered an examination room, moving the sputtering clinic administrator out of the way. Dr. Albright knelt down in front of Leo. She didn't look at his old clothes. She looked at his chest. She listened with her stethoscope for less than 10 seconds before her face grew very serious. We need to transport him, she said to Marcus. Now, this isn't bronchitis. His right lung is collapsing. The glass tower. The next few hours were a blur of sirens and terrifying speed. We didn't go in an ambulance. We went in Marcus's Maybach, following a police escort he arranged with a single phone call. We arrived at Mount Sinai's private wing. It was like entering a different planet. The floors gleamed. It was quiet. There were nurses who made eye contact and smiled. They rushed Leo into a private suite filled with machines that beeped confidently. Dr. Albright and her team swarmed him. I stood outside the glass door, watching them insert tubes and wires into my little brother. I felt dizzy. Marcus stood next to me. He hadn't left. They'll fix him, he said. His voice was awkward. He wasn't used to comforting people. He was used to fixing problems. Why did you come back? I asked, my eyes fixed on Leo. Marcus was silent for a long time. You said my money was worthless, he said finally. Nobody has ever told me the truth like that before. I wanted to prove you wrong. You didn't, I said softly. You proved me right. You used your money to get access. The access is what saved him, not the paper itself. He looked at me, a strange expression on his face. Respect. The long night. It was a severe pleural effusion complicated by an undiagnosed autoimmune issue. If we had waited another day at the free clinic, Leo would have died. They drained the fluid. They started him on IV treatments that cost more per dose than my car was worth. I stayed by his bedside for 2 days straight. I was terrified to sleep, afraid that if I closed my eyes, this miracle would evaporate. Marcus didn't stay, but he didn't disappear. His assistant sent fresh clothes for me. Food was delivered from 5-star restaurants 3 times a day. On the 3rd evening, Leo woke up. His eyes were clear for the first time in months. "Sarah," he rasped, "are we in a hotel? It's really fancy." I started crying, kissing his forehead over and over. "Yeah, buddy, the fanciest hotel." Marcus walked in right at that moment. He was holding a giant teddy bear and an iPad. He looked ridiculously out of place, holding a stuffed toy in his expensive suit. He stopped at the door, watching me cry over my brother. He saw the way Leo's small hand clutched mine. He saw a kind of love that was totally alien to his boardroom existence. He walked over and awkwardly placed the bear on the bed. "Hi, Leo," Marcus said. "I'm Marcus. I gave your sister a ride." The transformation. Leo was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Marcus visited almost every day. He would sit in the corner chair, answering emails on his phone, just being present. Sometimes he'd play chess with Leo on the iPad. One night in the cafeteria, Marcus sat across from me. He looked tired. "I audited the St. Jude's clinic," he said abruptly. "You did what?" "They were woefully underfunded. The administrator was skimming off the top. I had him fired. I'm funding a full renovation, new equipment, and I hired Dr. Albright as a consultant to set up a rotation of specialists." I stared at him. "Why?" He stirred his black coffee. "Because you were right, Sarah. I have billions of dollars and I was spiritually bankrupt. I saw you with nothing, willing to fight the world for your brother. I realized I didn't have anyone in my life I would do that for, and nobody would do it for me." He looked down at his hands. "You refused $5,000 to save his life. That's the most valuable thing I've ever witnessed." The cold corporate raider was thawing. He wasn't just writing checks anymore, he was paying attention. The new currency. The day Leo was discharged, Marcus sent the car. Not to take us back to our cramped apartment, but to a nice 2-bedroom condo near a good school. "The rent is paid for a year," Marcus said when he handed me the keys in the hospital lobby. "Consider it an investment in Leo's future, and I got you a job interview at my foundation. They need someone who understands what people actually need." This time I didn't refuse, because this wasn't shut-up money. This was a hand up. "Thank you, Marcus," I said, hugging him. He stiffened at first, then awkwardly patted my back. Leo ran up and hugged his leg. "Thanks for the ride in the spaceship car, Mr. Marcus." Marcus smiled, a real genuine smile that reached his eyes. We didn't just save Leo that rainy afternoon. I think, in a way, we saved Marcus, too. The moral of the story. We live in a society that tries to monetize everything. We are told that our worth is tied to our net worth. But there are things that cannot be put on a balance sheet. The way a sister holds her brother's hand when he's scared. The ferocity of love that refuses to accept no for an answer. Marcus Thorne had all the gold in the world, but he was impoverished until he saw a kind of wealth he couldn't buy. He learned that money is just a tool. It's useless paper until it's used to serve something greater than itself, like love, like compassion, like life. Some things are just not for sale, and those are the only things that truly matter.